and welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the continuation of the Masters Coliseum 7, round number 2, day number 2. Earlier today, we wrapped up with Maru versus Serral, Max versus Shin, and Bunny versus Firefly. We had, some banger of matches, especially Maru versus Serral. It was an insane series, an insane back and forth. I recommend checking out the VODs. Really good matches were had. Of course, we took a bit of a break. After Bunny versus Firefly, we switched over and we covered the Ducklings showdown. And we had some pretty impressive matches there as well. I was very, very happy with how the Ducklings showdown went down, and it was just some great matches, great StarCraft was to be had. And now we have returned to finish up the Masters Coliseum. Today's broadcast, we have one best of 3 remaining, Trigger versus Solar in a PvZ. Here we go. Basilisk versus Onside, Protoss versus Zerg. That is going to be coming up next. Now, these matches were held at the same time that we were casting the Duckling Showdown. It was happening at the same time, which is why we couldn't finish this, because the two broadcasts overlapped. And of course, we're going to be focusing on our broadcast. We're going to be focusing on the CranKy Ducklings, or on the Duckling Showdown. So we focus on our show matches. Now we're back. This does mean that these matches were already held. So if you already watched this on like Wardy's channel, I think Wardy was casting it, and some of the other language casters as well. No spoilers. No spoilers in the chat, as we are coming in fresh. We are coming in right after our previous broadcast, right after the showdown. So we are here. We are ready for it. Oh boy. And this is going to be an interesting one. Again, Solar, of course, is our most recent GSL champion. Solar, a bit on fire recently, but he did struggle. He did struggle a little bit in WTL. In the World Team League, he, especially during the playoffs, he wasn't really too much of a factor. He really did struggle to thrive. WTL playoffs were just WTL TBT. It was a lot of Terran versus Terran, and that's really what it came down to. But I'm hoping that Solar can fight back and really showcase what he's really made of in the individual league, in the Masters Coliseum. Now, this is a loser's match. This is going to be a loser's match between the two players. Solar, he got knocked down by Classic a couple of days ago, and Trigger got knocked down by Cure. So both Trigger and Solar have yet to win a series in Masters Coliseum. That's why they're facing off here in the loser's match. One player will get a win, the other player will remain without a score, without a point on the board. In this Swiss format group stage, you don't want to be taking another loss here. It's going to be that much more difficult to make it out of the group. And here we go. We have our vetoes, we have our map picks. It's going to be Oceanborn, Sight, Delta, and Alcyone. Let's go. The bans make a lot of sense. The vetoes make a lot of sense. Trigger gets rid of Equilibrium. Solar gets rid of Radisson Station. Again, those are some of the more favored maps for the opposing races. And then we get into some more kind of stylistic choices here. We see Solar getting rid of the smaller maps, Golden Aura and Hecate. Very small maps, short rush distance by ground, you can be very aggressive. Solar, he wants none of the aggression from Trigger. Likewise, Trigger gets rid of Solaris, a bit of a larger map, and Hard Lead, the shortest rush distance map in the map. Here we go. So our map order here is a little bit more standard. Oceanborn is still quite aggressive of a map, but Sight, Delta, and Alcyone can lead to longer games. Much longer games on those two maps. But we can really spice things up on Oceanborn. I'm here for it. I am ready for it. Who has our players? Don't forget to stretch. Oh, God. Shout out to Solar for reminding us. Posture check in the chat. Don't forget to stretch. And here we go. We're getting into game number 1. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the Canadian Protoss Trigger for Basilisk. And in the bottom right, we have his opponent. We have Solar for Onside. Here we go. And as we get into this, a big shout out to the sponsors of WTL, of Masters Coliseum. Big shout out to Doyu, Honkai Star, Taidu, Autofool, and Pio Pio. Big shout out to our sponsors. Without them, this event would not be possible. Again, this is a massive tournament, over 40k on the line, over a 40k prize pool. Yeah, this is the big premier event before IM Katowice. And this is a really good event to really get a read on the state of play for a lot of these players leading into IM Katowice. It's a really good way to kind of get a read on their form, get a read on their play styles, get a read on what they're looking like. especially because there is so much on the line. Meanwhile, here we go. We have a probe scout into the main base. Solar Force take the unnatural natural. Solar Force will expand elsewhere. So a bit of a more uncomfortable start for Solar. We'll see if Trigger takes advantage of that. We spoke about it, but Oceanborn has a bit of a shorter rush distance by ground. The third base is that much more exposed because there's no ramp leading into the third, so you can be quite aggressive here. Twilight Council openers make sense, and Roach-based aggression also makes a lot of sense on this map as well. So we'll see what we embrace, we'll see what we go for. For now, we're just getting into our openers. Going to be an expand or cyber expand here from Trigger. Sorry, gate expand into the cyber core. Likewise, hatch gas pull. Solo should be working towards his third base, and Trigger will soon be throwing down his tech of choice. Now again, Trigger is more known for Stargate openers and, you know, going for oracles into a third base, into a pretty standard mid game. But we'll see if he spices it up and if he deviates in game 1. Again, Solo is going to be coming in as the favorite player. Trigger, he has been an up-and-comer for quite some time. He's been rising through the ranks in the North American scene. I would say that Trigger is top 2 Protoss in NA, second only to Australia. And fun fact, Trigger and Australia, they go back and forth. In PvPs, they do go back and forth in series. And there we go, we have our tech. It is going to be a Stargate. Again, as to be expected when it comes to Trigger's play style, Stargate play is very much so kind of his comfort zone. And we should be seeing an Oracle. He can always go for a Void Ray. Like, Void Ray based openers can be very effective. But we'll see. We'll see what Trigger does embrace. See, he does slip on by. Heading for that main. Likewise, Ling is going to be slipping in. Ooh, and I have to eat my words a little bit. I was assuming it was going to be an Oracle, but no, it's going to be a Void Ray first. Let's go. With a Void Ray opener, we're going to be hiding the follow-up tech. Trigger, he could play standard from here, or he could be hyper-aggressive, and Solo will have a very hard time getting a read on what's going on. The Ling goes down, and we're going straight towards Twilight Council. Oh my god. Very aggressive here from Trigger. Twilight Council before the third base, and Solo will have no idea. Solo's going to be in the dark. He has Lings that are being active, but we have a full wall-off back at home. And the Void Ray's job, its goal, is to shut down the Overlords. Now, with this Twilight Council, this should be Glaives. This should be a Glaive Adept follow-up. We have seen some players play around with 2-base charge all-in. We have also seen players play around with going for a Dark Shrine as well. But I'm feeling Glaives here as we're going up to 4 gateways. We'll see how we piece this together. And there it is. Glaives is in production. So a very aggressive follow-up out of Trigger. Very committed. Very committed because we are delaying we're delaying the expansion for so long. It is going to be on the way, but very delayed. Meanwhile, across the map, Solar, he's just droning. We have some safety Spore Crawlers on the way to defend against the Void Ray. Solar needs to throw down a Roach Warren. There it is. It's a 4-minute 30 Roach Warren. It's late. It is a late Roach Warren out of Solar, which means he has to rely on Lings to defend against the first wave. The first wave of Adepts, there will not be Roaches in time. This is concerning. For those that are curious, typically, I say typically, against a Twilight Council opener, you want to throw down your Roach Warren at around the 4-minute mark. To be fair, because it's a Stargate opener, Roach Warren has been delayed. It's a 4-minute 30 instead. There we go, the Lings, they do get us around. We do clean up 2 Adepts already. Nice pickup. The rest of the Adepts, they are kept alive. They're kept safe behind this wall. They are kept hidden. Solar still doesn't know. Roach Warren does finish up, but we're still droning. Uh-oh. Solar, he's droning up to past 55. And there we go. The Adepts have been revealed. 7 Roaches immediately start up, but just because they started doesn't mean they're going to be a part of this. Lings are caught out of the map, and the Adepts are going straight for the mineral line, straight for the drones. Get a late reaction from Solar, but he does rotate over with his queens. Adepts going to be threatening a shade. Ooh, they do bust in. They bust into the natural. We're going for the drone kills. We're going for the workers. 3, 4 drones go down, and we shade into the main as well. Well, we commit. We commit to the shade. We're going for more worker kills, and we do get them. 7 workers, 8 workers go down. 8 workers in total. Was this worth it? That becomes the question, because that was a lot of Adepts bearing in mind that this is not all in. We do have a third base on the way. We have a third on the way. We have a Blink +1, Robo as well. Trigger, he takes a worker lead. That's all he was looking for. He takes a worker lead here. Now, he is vulnerable back at home, but there's no roach speed. There's no roach speed. There's we could try to counterattack. It could be successful, but Solar isn't going for it. He isn't going for the counterattack. He's chilling back at home, and we are taking it hard here. +1, Blink, Bay for Colossus production, Gateway Explosion. Trigger is vulnerable, but Solar isn't pushing, which means Trigger, he's getting away with this. Trigger, he has half the army supply of his opponent. Less than half. But now more than half. Feels vulnerable, and yeah, he's able to stabilize, able to get into a fourth. Meanwhile, Solar, he's thinking further ahead. We're done with roaches, now is the time for hydras. +1 range is on the way, so that will help the Hydra Lurker. Infestation bits on the way as well for Hive Tech. So Solar, he's taking up, he's getting ready for the late game. He's getting ready for the mid to late game here. Getting up to 80 workers, getting up to Hydra Lurker Viper. Can Solar get there? Because it looks like Trigger wants to push out with Blink. Trigger, he is pushing out ahead of time, and Solar, is he ready for this? He's droning up even further, droning up to 80. Lings do spot the army. We do have a couple of roaches to defend, a couple of ravagers. We should have enough. We're okay. The Queen's waddling forward here. Ling's going to be shaved off. Good juggling from Trigger. Very nicely done. Does preserve his units. Shaves off all those Lings. Lurker Den is on the way alongside the Hive. It is in production. But remember, Trigger, he isn't all in or anything. Like, he's taking it forward. He's expanding. And he still has that Bay. He hasn't started Disruptor production or Colossus yet, but we can work on it. There it is. First Colossus on the way. Good vials out of Solar. He's collapsing all these sentries. And he will get them just barely. The sentries go down as they do trade on the edge of creep. Trigger getting ready for a backstab with that War Prism. He has the War Prism towards the bottom left. Stalkers, they clear up as much creep as they can. And we are building up that Colossus army. But as Trigger's working on Colossi, Solar is already working on Vipers. The Hive is done. We have a range for Lurkers on the way as well. Solar trying to catch some units. Adepts, they do come in from behind. They do get into the mineral line. They try to. So far, Solar, he's holding on. He's minimizing his losses. Again, Lurker upgrades on the way. 7 Lurkers in production. Oh, the Prism goes down. Big pickup. Prism does fall. And I need to favor Solar here. It isn't just the supply. It isn't just the fact that Solar's maxed out. It is the fact that Solar, once he realized what was happening, once he realized that Trigger was transitioning, we teched up so quickly into Hive. And now we have Hive Tech Lurkers, and we already have Vipers as well. Solar, he's snowballing out of control, moving out with a massive army. And what do we have to defend? What do we have to work with here? We have a couple of Colossi. Oh boy. The Lurkers, they siege up in between the bases. Shield battery goes down. Vile's going to be zoning back that Void Ray. Looks like Trigger, he's catching some reinforcements. Does catch a Lurker. The Viper. Oh no. Viper, big pickup. Massive pickup there by Trigger. But is it enough? Because his third base, it's going to go down. The boys, they're being pulled into Lurker range. 11 probes go down. 13. Colossus does fall, and you can see that Solar is not slowing down. Pushing forward towards that natural. Oof. Massive spine shot. 24 probes fall, and the Colossus as well. Remember, range is done for these Colossus, for these Lurkers. And they go to town. A nice concave, but GG gets called. There's just too much, and Solar will take game number 1. GG, well played. Whew. Again, Solar able to, with confidence, recognize the follow-up. Like, Trigger did well. Trigger, he did well initially with the Adepts. They were able to kill some units and kill a lot of drones, and of course, establish himself into a 3rd and 4th base. I do think that, unfortunately, as Trigger decided to tech up and work towards like Robotech, it was delayed. He wasn't going double Robo Colossus, he was only a single Robo. And despite rushing into the Bay, he never really got into it too quickly, so we were stuck with a gateway composition. And Solar was so quick to just rush into Hive, rush into Vipers, rush into Lurkers, and that was the kill move. The timing, the win condition here is Solar getting into those Hive Tech Lurkers, able to force his way in and have his way with Trigger. GG. GG, well played. With that, Solar does win game number 1, and now we're getting ready for game number 2. Let's go. Still happy to see Maru looking back in form. Maru looked damn good against Serral. If you missed out on the VODs of Serral versus Maru, watch it, because that was a sick series. Like, seeing the score of 2-0 doesn't do it justice. Like, Maru looked damn good. Like, better than he has in, like, a couple of months, I'll be honest. It feels like Maru's been hibernating a little bit, and now that we're kind of creeping up on IEM, Maru, he's looking terrifying. Looking in form. But here we go, we're getting ready for our next game. Este Nish. Shaking my head. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Este Nish. Take care, papi. Take care. As we're getting into game number 2. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have Trigger for Basilisk. Spawning in the bottom right, we have his opponent. We have the Korean Zerg player, Solar, for Onside. We go. And Solar looking strong in that first game. Despite the Adept harass, he was able to really get a handle of the mid-game, recognize how passive and economic Trigger was being, and Solar was able to take full advantage of Trigger. Ooh, oh my. As Solar going for a 14 hatch. Let's go. That was a 14 hatch out of Solar. That's a little bit old school. I say a little bit old school. We saw it rise in popularity in the Korean scene when the 1515 was kind of being experimented on, and when Eric kind of brought it to the forefront. When the 1515 was being played out, so we had a lot of Koreans like DRG, Solar, Dark mess around with 14 hatch timings, and with that, Solar, he gets his base on location. Gets it on location, isn't delayed too much at all. Gonna be a hatch gas pool. Like an earlier hatchery here from Solar, just so he can get it where he needs to be. Make sure that Adepts do not harass him anymore. Meanwhile, Trigger going for a gate expand into the side of the core. Standard opener from our Protoss. And a much more comfortable opener out of Solar. That was... I had to wrap my head around it. He looks Trigger blue, not Trigger red. Triggered. I stand. You're stretching it there, Bappy. That was awful. I stand. Oh god. Ugh. Shit. I'm speechless. Alright, let's go. I don't even know how to like say that. Anyway, getting into this once again. Stargate opener out of Trigger. Let's go. We get Stargate opener out of our blue Zerg player. Blue Protoss. From here, we can go a couple of different directions. I expect an Oracle, not a Void Ray. I expect, but we'll see. Last game, we also went Void Ray opener into some fast glaive Adepts. But I imagine Trigger will go for a much more standard opener this time on Site Delta. We shall see. As there it is, our first unit of choice is going to be the Oracle, so something much more economic. With this Trigger, he can, of course, get into his Oracles, get into his third base, get into triple Oracle production, and harass the mineral line of Solar. Not just that, but also establish his third. So, much more standard game here from Trigger as opposed to Game 1. Game 1, Trigger was spicing it up. He was being a little bit more fancy, but calming things down in Game 2. Oracles are moving out. It's going to be on Solar to be in position. How many queens? That's the question. We have plenty of queens, but are they where they need to be? As we're going straight for the natural, we should have at least 2 queens already. Potentially 3. As Oracle heads into the mineral line. And Solar, yeah, he has his 3 queens in position, has a spore on the way, loses 1 drone, but only a single worker goes down. Solar does swat Trigger away. So far, so good. A good start out of Solar. Lings are moving out. Second Oracle moves out across the map, which means Solar can go for the surround. He's going for the depths. Cannot quite get them though, as the third base is looking pretty well fortified. And Trigger once again going for a Twilight Council follow-up with a Forge. Now, the Forge does signify that this should be +1 Blink Stalkers, or it could be +1 Charge. I'm imagining Blink Stalkers, but Trigger has options. Does have options available. Oracle's going to be zoned away. And there it is. It is not Blink. It is going to be Charge instead. Let's go. Charge is in production. The Oracles, ooh, get caught out of position. Good movement out of Solar. Able to keep up. Able to get quite a bit of hold damage on those Oracles behind this. That's a gateway explosion, Papi. Oh my, that's going to be 6 gates. 6 gates in total for Trigger. He's going to be hitting a very strong time with Charge and +1. We have the Temple Archives on the way as well for Archons. And Trigger's going to be pretty committed with this. His goal is to catch Solar droning. If Solar drones up too much, then he will be caught off guard. He will be caught with his pants down by this push. Gases are being taken. Solar is going to be droning up a little bit further. Ooh, droning up to 68. Roaches are in production. Solar, he's teching, by the way. He's going up to an infestation pit and an Evo chamber. I'm a little bit concerned if we do become a little bit too greedy. They can say check the third. They confirm saturation. They confirm the lack of fourth. We need roaches. We need to build up a roach count here for Solar. Catches an Oracle. Good pickup. Gets a gas geyser. Robo's on the way. It looks like without this Robo, I don't know if Trigger's actually going to push. He's chilling. He is going to be chilling here. I do think the Robo is delayed. Alright, there we go. Now, 4th base is on the way for Trigger, and he's moving out. He's moving out with his Zealots, with his Archons. I believe the move out was scouted, so Solar's aware. Cutting workers at 66. And he's building up his roaches, which means this push should not do too much damage. Gets a queen. Not quite. Queen does survive. Roaches, they force back the army. And Solar's committed, actually. I'm not too sure about this. Oh my god, let's go. I mean, he realizes it is going to be charged also, which means Swarm Hosts are on the way. Dark, is that you? Solar, Papi. We have 7 Swarm Hosts in production. You don't see this too often, but this is a good reaction against specifically Charger Archon. The reason why, Charger Archon is a very immobile composition. No Blink Stalkers. Without Blink Stalkers, neither Swarm Hosts or even Swarm Hosts on their own can do a lot of damage. They can gain a lot of value and just pick apart the Protoss player. Now, you don't see this too often because Charger Archon isn't used too often, but this is viable against it. Again, no Blink Stalkers, no Phoenixes, no Voids. Swarm Hosts are amassing. Now, we need to make sure this first Locust Wave gets damage done. Ideally, the Roaches drag the army out of position, and then we Locust Wave down the Nexus. Swarm Hosts are on the way. Roaches come in. And Trigger, he's dragged out of position. We're going for the base. We should be going for the Nexus. Roaches, they distract the army. We're going for the static defense instead. We're going to get cannons, shield batteries. We trade. These are okay losses for Trigger. As the Locusts are cleaned up, at the same time, Solar pushing in. But he didn't really achieve too much damage here. Solar is maxed out, that is true, but he has inflated army supply. Remember, roaches are supply dense. On top of that, swarm hosts, whenever they don't have a locust, they don't do anything. So there's a really risky playstyle here out of Solar. Going for another locust wave. A couple of locusts are going to be wasted here, but they do push in. And where's Sanctum Defense Cannon? Shield batteries, they get knocked out. No cannons, no shield batteries. Roaches, they do have to respect these immortals. Solar going to be committing here. Good piles. Well, the Archons are going down. The immortals are exposed. We're pulling back, but we have another locust wave. And this time without Archons, the locusts, they can get through. Those immortals, they're looking so exposed. Oh, we have a stasis. We do have a stasis trap. It's going to be triggered. Oh, it is. It is going to be triggered, and here we go. The locust wave is coming in, and this time we're breaking in. This time we're getting on the army. Archon's going down. Locust wave gets cleaned up. The immortals are still standing strong, by the way. We need to get on top of them. God, good juggling out of Trigger. He's trading so well against these roaches, but he is losing his base. 12, 13 probes go down. 15 probes. Oh my god. And the immortals are falling. Ling's coming to reinforce. That's a lot of immortals. Show us the locust wave. We need it desperately. Where is it? Ah. Oh my god, it's taking so long. And there it is. Locust wave coming in. A good juggling here out of Trigger. He trades well against the roaches. But here comes the final push. The final wave of locusts. As we get on top of the immortals. Good juggling, but there's just so much DPS available, and we break the base. The third goes down. Solar from here can back off and rebuild. Trigger, he is knocked down to 50 probes. Under 3 base saturation at this point. And Solar, he can just back off, rotate around, regroup, and do it again. And his creep is insane. He's spreading creep all the way towards the triangular third, which means Trigger cannot expand. He cannot retake that base, not easily. The wall's not a wall. The wall is not a wall. The Lings, they flood into the natural. Lurkers come into support as we have been teching with Hydras, with Lurkers. And we just zone away the ground army. Locust Wave, they do what they can. Oh, is there detection? No! There is no detection. The Immortals, they cannot touch the Lurkers. The Immortal goes down, and we're pushing into the natural, getting some of the production. We are pushing in. As we break through the defensive line, we're trying to break through the Lurkers, but it's not going to be enough. GG gets called, and Solar, he snowballs out of control, taking the series 2-0. GG. GG, well played. A solid series there out of Solar. Oh, the webcams are gone. A solid series out of Solar as he does take down his opponent. Again, Trigger, I do appreciate that he was trying different things in both Game 1 and Game 2. But Solar was so good at scouting and so good at responding. We spoke about it. Swarm hosts are typically not viable against certain builds and certain compositions. But specifically, as soon as Solar saw the Charger Archon, bam, Swarm hosts. Swarm hosts were on the way. We were amassing them, and it's just a really good way to abuse this army composition, just because it's so difficult to close the distance and get on top of the Swarm hosts and go for any kind of counterattacks and really deal with that army. Trigger was stuck at home and just could not break out. Solar was just trading so efficiently, and snowballed out of control. GG. GG, well played. With that, we're done. We are finally done for the night. It was a bit of a longer broadcast, almost 5.5 hours. Let's go. Bit of a longer broadcast here tonight, but we had a lot of casting to do. We had a lot of matches to cover, and I hope everyone had a great time. Hope everyone enjoyed themselves. Again, if you missed out on the Club NV X Duckling Showdown, check out the VODs. It was a beautiful series. If you missed out on Maru versus Cheryl, if you missed out on Bunny versus Firefly, and even Max versus Shin, really good matches. Really good matches. Check out those VODs. Check out the replays. It was beautiful. With that, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support. If you want to tune into more of the CranKy Ducklings, we're going to be live tomorrow. Every day. Obviously, every day we're live. We're going to be live tomorrow with some more Masters Coliseum in just under 24 hours. You can see the Swiss stage, the Swiss bracket here before you. And do we have our next matches? I believe we do. Okay, so tomorrow's matches. Maru versus Dark in a TVZ. We have Serral versus Solar, Classic versus Cure, Trigger versus Bjorn. Trigger versus Bjorn to end the night. Really good matches. Really good matches tomorrow. Maru versus Dark. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a KSL Summer rematch. It's going to be a rematch from the finals of KSL Summer. I'm ready for it. I am ready for it. More TVZ action. Give. Basically, Maru and Dark, they haven't lost at all yet. They have not dropped maps, but now they have to as they face off. You can see the matches here. Okay, oh, sorry, those are the matches. Okay, so Maru versus Dark at the end of the night. It's going to be Serral versus Solar, Classic versus Cure, Trigger versus Bjorn, and Maru versus Dark. So those are going to be the matches tomorrow. Make sure you tune in. Make sure you tune in for some Masters Coliseum. Just setting that up. There we go. So, yeah, with that, that's a lot to look forward to. Be sure you're a part of it. Mark your calendars. Follow the channel. Follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Discord, and Twitch as we are live throughout the week. Throughout it all. And, yeah. With that, I guess we're done for today. I'm gonna go get some food, gonna go get some rest. No rest for the wicked. I'm gonna be editing all the VODs. That's what I'm gonna be doing. A lot of VODs to edit, a lot to schedule, a lot to get ready for YouTube. So, yeah, take care, everyone. Take care, enjoy yourselves. We are gonna be giving another StarCraft streamer a raid, so give them some love and give them some support. Plenty of StarCraft going on right now, so check them out. Check them out. Otherwise, we'll see you guys tomorrow for some more Masters Coliseum. Till then, hasta luego. Bye. Hasta luego.